Hello, and welcome to Local Time. I'm your host, Michael Shea. Like many communities across our country, the problem of gun violence, particularly this year, has become an important issue. And many of our communities are struggling to find ways to debate it, to deal with it, and to make some changes. And today we're joined by three people who, in Arlington, are working with organizations to try to have a conversation, have a debate, and create some change on this very important issue. I'm joined by Beth Fine from Moms Demand Action, and then sisters, Karina Deleda and Maya Deleda from HB Woodlawn High School, and they're with Students Demand Change. So thank you all for coming. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Beth, let's start with you. How did Moms Demand Action get started?
So Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America started 5 years ago, the day after the Sandy Hook tragedy. It was started by stay-at-home mom Shannon Watts, who was very upset and went to Facebook and made a Facebook group and invited her 95 friends to join her and try and figure out a way to make real concrete change. She started small and has built this to a movement now of 4 million supporters. So we are growing. We're a national organization. We're nonpartisan. And we are asking for common sense gun laws from our country at the both state and national level.
How many supporters do you have in Arlington or in the Northern Virginia area, and has it been growing in the past year?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been growing. We have so many supporters, I can't even tell you exactly how many right now. We have 19 local groups in Virginia, I can tell you that much. We have hundreds of people showing up at meetings these days, and certainly since Parkland, it's been growing quite a bit.
And what sort of policies are you looking to put in place?
So we're looking for common sense gun laws. We're not looking to try and abolish the Second Amendment. That's on the books, and we're fine with that. We have gun owners in our organization, in fact. What we're trying to do is have universal background checks. So we should have a background check at every point of purchase. We want extreme risk protection orders on the books. We want stronger domestic violence laws so that we can be sure that abusers don't have access to a lethal weapon. So these are just a few of the laws that we want to see, and we know for a fact, because we've studied this, will make us safer.
Right. Thank you. Karina, so how did you get involved with this issue?
So in 2016, actually, Maya and I and our family had an incident with gun violence ourselves, our family. In March of 2016, our grandfather was shot and killed in his own house, which was devastating. And that actually got my mom involved with Moms Demand Action, and that kind of sparked my sister and my interest in getting involved with the gun violence prevention movement. But Students Demand Action started after Parkland, and we tried to kind of mobilize students to get their anger and frustrations channeled into something that can make those raw emotions go into like progressive change. So with that, we started the Students Demand Action chapter at HB. We have started with around 40 members, and which is like pretty good, because our grades are like 80 people, so.
Right. That's very good. That's very impressive. Maya, what sort of role do the students who get involved? What do they do exactly?
Well, we give like different roles to every student.
Okay.
Like we tried to do a sign up where we gave people different roles with the events that we do. Like we had a town hall event at school where we had speakers including Don Beyer and Rip Sullivan and Barbara Favola come, and we got like different students to have like different roles with introducing them and organizing it.
And how do you reach out to students typically? How do you get their attention and get them kind of involved? Is it different ways?
We have so we've used social media to kind of spread our word about events, but to get people organized, we have weekly meetings every Wednesday in a teacher's room. We'd kind of assign people roles and have open discussions on how we should organize specific events. And then we also have like a giant group text message. So we kind of talk on there, and people give their suggestions or ideas or volunteer in that.
All right, that sounds very impressive. Beth, how did you get involved with the group?
I've been involved since 2015, and a bunch of things were sort of pushing me in that direction for a long time. I have a friend who was killed outside of Ben's Chili Bowl, minding his own business, and he was struck down by random gunfire. It's always been an issue in my family. My father actually ran a long time ago in Norfolk for House of Delegates and lost soundly, but he ran on this issue. And more recently, my twins were born right before Sandy Hook. And so all of those things sort of came together and pushed me to focus my energies on this issue. But it wasn't until they were a little bit older and I had a little bit more time that I could really put towards it that I got more involved.
So your father running for House Delegates, as you put a long time ago, I feel like the politics in Virginia is changing on this issue. Do you see that as you get involved?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. We I feel like this has become an issue that is a winning issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there was an article in the last day or two that I saw that was, now in places that people weren't talking about gun violence prevention, now you see that as a winning issue. And that's something that people are really concerned about. And the more we talk about it, we look at the election last year, we worked very hard to get our gun sense candidate elected, and he won. Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of change that we're going to need to really have safer gun laws in the state.
What else do you think we need to do besides some of the elections? Do you think there's other things we need to do on this issue? For
sure. So we have, there are elections at every level, and all of those are important. So we have to be really focused on that. But beyond that, culture change is important. So one of the things that we do at Moms Demand Action is go out and have Be Smart presentations. And SMART is, of course, an acronym. And it talks about safe storage, modeling good behavior around children, asking before you send your kids over on a play date whether or how they have their firearms stored. Right. Recognizing the risks of teen suicide and how you can make sure that your firearm is locked away from teens who are in a crisis, and then telling your friends about it. So how do you have these conversations so that there's less judgment and more safety? Right. So that's one of the big things. We also go and advocate at farmers markets and try and share what we're doing. And we encourage others to get involved and make their voices heard, because there used to be a perception that there was an enthusiasm gap on this issue. And right. In fact, I think that we are very, very concerned about what we can do and how we can make positive change. Right.
Yeah, I think on the cultural issue shift with the safety in the homes, I think there's a lot of people who may have felt like, I can't ask that. That's their house.
Right.
But it's your child, and you're responsible for their safety. Precisely. And then on mental health, we need, for a lot of reasons, a cultural shift where people don't feel like there's a stigma, feel like they can reach out for help, people that feel like they can talk about it. Because if you hide it away, it becomes more dangerous with the guns, I think.
Right, absolutely. And, I think there's a stigma, and people feel like someone who has a mental health issue is more likely to be violent, and in fact, they're more likely to be a victim of violence. Mm-hmm. And so figuring out how to have these conversations in a rational and calm way, I think that's the best way forward.
And so what are some of the policies or actions that students can demand action have been calling for in some of your activities? I know you've only been going since Parkland, but...
So one of our biggest things that we're going to be working towards coming in September is voter registration for students, because we understand that one of the biggest ways, or one of the only ways to get these pro-gun, or how would you describe, like
legislators?
Out of office is to vote them out. So we're working, since I'm going to be of voting age next election, I'm going to try to get all of my friends who are also of voting age to go and vote, because that's really important, because a lot of young people to begin with, they're not voting. We saw that in the last election. And I think if we get more young people to go and vote, we will see that shift or that flip. So.
Right. And Maya, you're not old enough to vote.
Yeah.
But are you doing things to call for specific policies or anything with the group?
like mostly voter registration,
Okay,
but we've also we've done events where we call the, what do you call it, legislators? We call offices of
Okay.
Barbara Favola and stuff Barbara Comstock to
Oh,
try
right.
to we try to get a lot of people to call to see if we can change her mind about how she
Right.
feels about guns, but
Right.
that's really it.
Because that in general is true. Whatever party they are, politicians listen to people who call, if enough of them call.
Yeah,
Right,
I think we flooded her lines because there was no calls going in anymore at one point.
So do you think students can make a difference?
Yeah, definitely. We saw it with Parkland. In Florida, they actually had some laws changed based on the actions of these students. So I think people are listening to the students because they do have a voice and we are going to use it. I mean, the Parkland kids have been such an inspiration for us. I think it was days after, maybe one day after the Parkland shooting, people just walked out of class and walked to DC and they were like, we're going to walk out and show people that we're angry and this is not acceptable. We don't feel safe in our schools. School's supposed to be a safe space and we don't feel safe and we're going to go and express that because we live so close to DC in front of our White House. So it was quite amazing to see how many students participated in something like that.
And did you feel ready for that? When you got involved with this, did you feel like, oh, I got this? Or was there a certain amount of nervousness?
I think there
was.
Maya and I have never done something like this before. This is all very new to us, the leadership, but I feel like we've had a lot of support from our teachers, from our principal, from Beth Fine, from my mom. So we've been kind of helped along the way. We haven't run into anybody who's telling us that we can't do what we're doing yet.
Right.
Which has been really, we're very fortunate to have that because a lot of students are in schools where their proms are being threatened because of what they're doing, or they're being locked into their classroom saying you can't participate in the walkouts. And we haven't had any restrictions placed on us at HB yet. So let's hope that continues.
Yeah. I think that's true throughout history. A lot of times change happens because people that, haven't been trained to do things, but they're just, let's call them ordinary people. They just want change and they step it up and they find the support and they help people organize and you get change that way. So I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
Beth, do you think your group can succeed? Do you think we can have these changes? And
Absolutely.
what gives you the hope that we can?
Because we're seeing it all across the country. We're seeing it not just in Florida, which is a great example, but we're seeing people from both political parties stand up and say that this has to change. And we're seeing a lot of movement on the laws, which is great. This is one of those issues that's going to be handled state by state for a while. And then eventually things will change at the national level. But I can tell you we're already seeing change. We're feeling it. This isn't, you certainly don't want a tragedy to inspire this kind of change. But I see these kids absolutely inspiring the change, and they give us hope. I mean, they really do. We get up in the morning and we keep going because of them, and we will. I mean, we're gonna win this thing. It's just a matter of time and getting the right people involved. So we're pretty close, I think.
And what gives you hope that students can make a difference?
The fact that this movement hasn't stopped after a hashtag. Like, I know people tend to turn to social media a lot to express their angers and frustrations with the current political climate, but I feel like Students Demand Action has taken on a completely different role. We're actually mobilizing and making active change and doing active events. And it's not just something that's going to kind of fizzle out like a lot of other trendy political topics that we're kind of seeing today.
Do you think that the technology, the social media, that whole thing, and particularly because in a lot of ways you're among the first generation or the first high school classes that your whole life has been with social media. Do you feel like that's made a difference?
I think.
I feel like the passion has to be there, right? The conviction about these has to be there, but this seems to make it easier.
Well, I think that when it's on social media, it's it's inspiring more people because
Right.
it's seen across, like, anybody can see it online, and it's not just like confined to one like school or so. It's spread across a lot of places, I guess.
Because this issue is probably something where it's easy to find students at HB Woodlawn, but it's you can think of issues maybe where it's not. And if you were the only person at your school who supported someone's rights, you'd feel pretty alone unless social media let you realize, no, there's 1,000 people that are with you. So it's that kind of affirmation.
I think that's also, I mean, that's certainly true for the adults as well as
the
kids.
We're
absolutely, we use social media all the time, and it helps us to get our message out there as well. But it also definitely helps you to feel like you're not alone and you're with a big team.
I mean, we're HB Woodlawn Students Demand Action, but HB Woodlawn Students Demand Action is kind of under or a part of Students Demand Action NOVA, which is the whole DC metro area, and that's 200 or so kids involved with that. So we're only one small section of a really big group of students that are supporting each other and working together to organize things. So it's really quite a big group.
And it's not just all virtual, because you have these events, these rallies, these marches where you physically are with the people and you feel that sense of community.
Yeah. We were at the Wear Orange event, all three of us. Beth hosted it, kind of. You were the master of ceremonies in a sense. And my friend Chloe Fugel, who couldn't make it tonight, who's also one of the co-leaders of Students Demand Action HB Woodlawn, we both spoke at the event, and we, in the audience, saw a bunch of the kids from Students Demand Action NOVA kind of supporting the Wear Orange event in Arlington, which was really cool to see.
Yeah. What is the next event, and when are meetings? You want to share some information about that?
Sure. The moms meetings are monthly. The next one July 17th, and it'll be in Shirlington. And you can find out about all of our events on Facebook at Moms Demand Action-VA.
All right, and any events coming up at it's summer.
Yeah, it's summer, so it's hard to
get
people together. But we're hoping that we can get some training from some local moms, to do tabling events at these farmers markets and community events, like community fairs and stuff. And hopefully I can try to canvass this summer, knock on people's doors and ask people who they're voting for. And registering people to vote. We're going to start with registering people to vote, though, in September with our school. Right.
And the deadline is in October, I think.
Yeah.
To vote in the election.
Yeah.
Will you be at the county fair, Arlington County Fair?
We are looking into that, and we are definitely going to be at Clarendon Day. Definitely look for us there. We're usually at the Knock Community Festival.
Yes.
So we're all over town. We were just at the Columbia Pike Blues Fest, which was a great time. We had people there for 6 or 7 hours. It was a long day, but a good day. And we got, 70 new people signed up. So
that is awesome.
That's any given Saturday, which is great.
Right.
We work
because
hard
not
for
only are you, as you say, 70 new people, but you're a visual reminder to the thousands of people who come by at any one of these festivals. So that's terrific work.
Yeah, it was great.
So, do you feel like you found a calling in life? Do you feel like do you feel like, well, now I know what I'm going to do the rest of my life? I'm just curious, because it is so inspiring to see young people step up so quickly.
It's definitely, this whole movement has definitely played a big part of our lives. I don't know. I mean, is there something for college students? Because I'm a rising senior. Or I'm going to be a senior next year, but I'm wondering if there's if this movement continues out into college and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it does, but I'm not sure.
The interesting thing is, campuses are often very different in terms of the activism of the students, and it's not even necessarily the political leaning.
Right.
It's just the degree of activism. It can vary greatly from college to college. I did not go to I went to William & Mary a long time ago, so it wasn't a particularly activist school.
But students, if they kind of mobilize, I think you can start something anywhere you go.
You can.
And I think you can start something anywhere you go. So that's really the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how about you? Do you think this is something you want to pursue into
I think
college?
so. I'm hoping that once you graduate, you and Chloe graduate, hopefully it'll keep going at HB because I'll be there for a year after they graduate. So I'm hoping that it won't die down by then and it'll still be.
We have a lot of students who are also really willing to step up and take on the roles of small leadership tasks. So I don't think that, like, once Maya and I are both out of HB, I mean, even middle schoolers have come up to Maya and I asking about opportunities for middle school students to get involved with Students Demand Action or something similar to that. So I think the movement is coming up. Like it won't die out once Maya and I are gone.
I think that's very true. And the other thing is, are there other issues that you care about or work on? I'm just curious. Like are there other things other political change you're trying to engage in?
Like in general or besides gun violence?
Besides gun violence.
Okay. Well, Maya, you were in She's the First, right?
Yeah, I was part of a club at my school called She's the First. It's where we raise money to send a girl in Africa to school. Okay. So I enjoyed that.
All right, very cool. That's fun.
And for me, this is one of my main focuses.
Okay. No, it's an important focus.
Yeah, so I haven't really been too involved with anything before the formation of Students Demand Action at HB. So
fair enough. I didn't mean that as
no,
I just was curious because often people have multiple issues and trying to achieve social change.
Right.
And so Beth, what is the next thing? It's July 17th?
It is July 17th. It's a more casual event. It's going to be a chance for new members to come and get to know what we're all about and what we're advocating for in a fairly casual atmosphere. So all the information is on the Moms Demand -VA Facebook page. So everything there for all of our Virginia events. So.
And is there a march, a rally, anything like that coming up that we should know about?
So that's the first thing and honestly, right now we're getting ready to launch into election season.
Right.
So we're going to be spending a lot of time canvassing and phone banking and text banking, and trying to get people to remember that there's an election, which is often a big hurdle, and to get them out to vote and vote on this issue. So that's going to be our next big focus, that and visibility events like farmers markets.
Right. Oh, very good. Well, I want to thank you all for coming on the program.
Thank you for having us.
It's been very enlightening and it's been very inspiring to see the students. So I have one child, and he's a freshman in college, and he often wanted to be more involved with different issues, including this one. But it's very difficult, particularly in a county like Arlington, where the students have a lot of standardized tests, they have a lot of work to do, they get very busy. So I'm not inspired just by your commitment and your desire to seek change, but I'm inspired by your time management, because I think that is a remarkable quality that I think not all students can claim to have. So I commend you for that. So thank you. And Beth, thank you for being on and for all the work that you're doing.
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you all for joining us. I want to thank Catherine, Maura, Hef, Jason, TL, and Charles. They've been a fantastic production crew here tonight for Local Time. And I hope you all join us again on Local Time. I'm Michael Shea. Thank you for watching.